Well, the king of retail politics, he's at it again while Kamala Harris accuses Donald Trump of being exhausted. The former president, he was busy schmoozing voters and charging through 3 unique campaign pit stops in the past couple of days. There was a barbershop in the Bronx with Fox and Friends, a Steelers football game, and a McDonald's in the battleground of Pennsylvania. Donald Trump putting on an apron and getting to work on the fries while disputing Kamala's claims to have worked at the Golden Arches back in the 80s.
I'm looking for a job, and I've always wanted to work at McDonald's, but I never did. Never touched by a human hand. Nice and clean.
Mr. President, nice to see you. You made it possible for ordinary people like us to meet you.
You're not ordinary.
I mean, thank you so much.
You are not ordinary. I can see. I worked for 15 minutes more than Kamala.
Are you going to put this on your resume?
I never worked here.
Democrats and the media having a bit of a McMeltdown. Not big fans of the former president working the deep fryer.
She actually worked in a McDonald's. She didn't go and pander and disrespect McDonald's workers by standing there in your red tie and take a picture.
He worked briefly as a fry cooker, without a hairnet, I might add.
He is so inept at pretending to be a real person that he really, literally cannot operate the fry machine as a normal worker. This just shows what an ultimate fraud he is.
I still found these images to be jarring.
Well, there's no logic to it. It's a stunt. He's engaged in some really bizarre types of activities during this campaign.
Trump also tried his charm out at a barbershop in the Bronx with Lawrence Jones on Fox and Friends.
You guys are the same as me. It's the same stuff. We were born the same way.
I want to say I'm a registered Democrat. I voted for you the first time, voted for you the second time.
Thank you.
And I'm going to vote for you again.
Are you better?
So taxes continue to go up, and sometimes you feel like you're in a losing battle.
I know this place with the taxes and tax certiorari. All I can do is give you a great economy, and you're going to have to get your rents up.
I think he won the news cycle over the weekend. Greg, what do you think?
Yeah, I think you know who won? The media. Because I love the hacks who had to point out that Trump really doesn't work at McDonald's. I just read on X, some tool named Ron Filipowski said it was staged. It was staged. Because, you'd expect the president who's been shot at twice to go into an actual McDonald's and start working there. You dope. I used the right phrase then. We understand he didn't actually fill out an application that doubles as a placemat at McDonald's. We also know that he didn't say that he worked at McDonald's. Somebody else did. And the reporters, instead of investigating that claim, they decide to, pull their hair out over this. The irony is, if they had actually done their job the first time, this incredible opportunity to troll Harris would not have taken place. Kind of reminds me of how the media is now treating Trump as, quote, unstable and exhausted, when they didn't do the same for Joe Biden, who actually was and is unstable and exhausted. Again, they had the opportunity for the investigative story, this giant story before them. You have a president that is incapacitated. They don't do it, and then they wait, and they do it on Trump. It's comical. I still remember, it wasn't long ago, a couple months ago, the Dems were getting their mojo back. They're trying to convince everybody that that lemon that they drove out of the lot was a restored EV Bentley. Turns out it's an exploding Pinto. The whole fantasy was desired to keep the polls close so they could keep the fundraising up. The problem is, the fundraising did go up, and she made a lot of money, but she's as flat as an irritated jellyfish. There's nothing happening there. So they have all the psyops of the media now comparing him to Hitler, to Mussolini, and Stalin. No Mao. Where's the diversity? So they're all returning to the place they were at, that he's a danger to society, but then it goes against everything you see at the barbershops at McDonald's. Yeah, he won.
And, Judge, when you're on a campaign, if your opponent does something that's, pretty great, I mean, at some point, don't you just go, well done?
Yeah, well, they can't do that because Trump is Hitler, and you know he is now fascist. So, but you know the amazing part of this whole thing with McDonald's is that there was no more powerful way to say that Kamala Harris wasn't being truthful about working at McDonald's than Donald Trump putting on that apron, going in there, and doing what he does best, and that is engaging with people, whether it's in a barbershop, McDonald's, or just showing up at a Steelers-Jets game where the crowds go crazy. I mean, he can communicate, he can relate, he can talk. Oh, she's got her platitudes. She can't engage in that communication, which was evident Thursday night at the Al Smith dinner. I mean, where, you know, in a race this close, you would think you'd want to, you know, engage a few Catholics. But instead, she put out a video that was totally disrespectful of Catholics. So, you know, Donald Trump he's walking the walk while she talks the talk. But what is so incredible is that the media doesn't even care if she worked at McDonald's. They're not interested in checking it out. They just want to make fun of him. And finally, they called it a political stunt. I mean, as if Kamala at the border wall, after they cleaned it all up, that wasn't a political stunt. Or how about Tim Walz, you know, a good old hunter who can't even load his own shotgun? I mean, it's kind of crazy. And finally, the exhaustion. You know, when she said Trump is exhausted, and then he just outworked her all weekend.
How do you see it, Richard?
Thanks for having me back. How are you?
Good to have you.
Look, I think a couple of things. One, I thought it was a good move for him to go to the McDonald's. I do think there's a juxtaposition between going to the McDonald's and actually connecting with the folks who work at the McDonald's. There was once a time in the 1980s when Kamala Harris worked at McDonald's. She did it in a semester while she was at Howard University, where, you know, that's what folks did. They went home from college, worked at McDonald's, made some extra money to pay for books. I think in today's day and age, there's a lot of working families that depend on a McDonald's salary to make ends meet, to pay the mortgage, to pay the rent. And I think, you know, in 2019, Kamala Harris was on the strike lines with McDonald's workers demanding higher wages. Also, in 2016, Donald Trump said he was going to raise the minimum wage when he was president. And in the 4 years, he didn't do that. And so I think there's a juxtaposition of him doing this photo op versus actually standing with workers at McDonald's. And I think this comes at a unique time in the country where we've seen both red states and blue states alike, voters in these states go to the ballot box and say, we want to raise the minimum wage. In Montana, voters voted to raise the minimum wage. In Arizona, voters voted to raise the minimum wage. In Florida, voters voted to raise the minimum wage. In Arkansas, voters voted to raise the minimum wage. So it's about time in this country that our lawmakers catch up with that and we finally raise the federal minimum wage, which is what the Harris campaign is advocating for.
So California did raise the minimum wage, and how many fast food workers lost their jobs and all those restaurants closed?
I don't have that exact number now, Dana, but I'll have my staff get it for you.
Thank you. Appreciate
I liked how his hair matched the fries and how his tie matched the ketchup. It was like, with the apron, it was like a Norman Rockwell painting. Just gives you a warm feeling inside. Or the color scheme was kind of like an Andy Warhol painting, you know, like
that's really what you're going for?
Political pop art. Think about it. The mugshot, fight, 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 and this, the three most iconic images of the campaign, and he owns them all. And these images have been now baked into Americans' brains, very much like a warm apple pie that they serve at McDonald's.
I love those.
And so Trump is America. Good luck running against America. She had an opportunity to do this. She could have gone to a McDonald's. She could have gone to a football game. She could have gone to a barbershop. Why didn't she?
She went to church. She was at church all weekend.
She's had more than one day to go, Richard. There's a WNBA finals going on. There's been 5 games. She's gone to 0. Why didn't she go there? Why didn't she go to like an SNL taping? Do it once.
Last year she went to
She
a
didn't
Howard
go to
football
Al
game.
Smith. She's not even
She was
in
talking
a
to voters.
barber shop or a hair salon. If she wants to connect, there's lots of ways to do it, but he's one step ahead of her every single time. She's doing Brett. He already did it. She's doing a town hall. He already did it with CNN.
Last time he did Brett Baer.
He did it in the spring, and he was just as tough on Trump as he was on her. She now doesn't have the joy. He's DJing. He's working the fries. She's angry. She's screaming. He's actually more middle class than she is, and that's all she talks about. Now, yeah, they're saying this was staged. Like Donald Trump's driving through Pennsylvania and sees the Golden Arches, is like, pull over. That's not how it works. And by the way, if you want to know staged, Joe Biden's entire 4 years was staged, Richard.
By the way, there was no, McDonald's even admitted there's no record they have of
Yeah,
Kamala
thank you for saying that. You know, but that's the thing. No one in the media cares to address the fact that there's zero evidence.
What's the manager of the McDonald's she worked at said she worked there.
That's a friend of hers? The friend of hers?
Another outlet said that the
Another
McDonald's
outlet?
says there's
What
no
outlet?
record.
NBC, it was
If you
confirmed by
did the- if
NBC
you did
in
the
the
investigative work, I commend
in
you,
the
but-
summer that she worked at a McDonald's
You're
in the 1980s she worked at a McDonald's between the summer.
According to
which was at
McDonald's,
Howard
there's no
University.
It's not like in 1980s we didn't have records.
Yeah,
but
It was not the 1880s.
Yeah.
There was a record
When
of her
Biden
working
was
there.
working at McDonald's.
It's not there.
Come on, that was fun.
Yeah.
It was
What a
good.
shame.
All right.
Click here to subscribe to the Fox News YouTube page to catch our hottest interviews and most compelling analysis. You won't get it anywhere else.